Welcome back to Steele and Vance. So much buzz around microdosing, and now microdosing and the symptoms of menopause. This is a legitimate conversation to be had.
Yeah, because magic mushrooms are having a moment right now. There's dispensaries being shut down and getting licenses back, and people wondering, what do you use this stuff for anyway? A lot of people are using it for anxiety and menopause, as is our next guest, who sort of walks us through the journey. Tara Mcguire is an author. Thank you so much for coming in.
You're
and
welcome.
Your book, we'll put up a cover, and then you tell us that you're up for an award.
Oh, well, the award was the City of Vancouver Book Award. I was a finalist, but it's already been decided.
Yes.
Congratulations. This is a book about your son, the loss of your son, which was, I think it's a bestseller. If it isn't, it should be. It was a fabulous book.
Thank you.
So you just wrote a piece for Chatelaine magazine, which was fascinating, about microdosing for menopause symptoms, which I would have never even thought about. Walk us through what that experience was like.
Well, I had never really heard about anxiety in menopause. I didn't even realize it was a thing. You know, you hear about the hot flashes and the weight gain and all of those things, but I'd never heard of anxiety. I'd experienced depression before, but I was not an anxious person. I was pretty chill.
You are chill. I've known you for a long time. You're very chill.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it was really surprising how frightening it was. And, you know, I've tried it. I continue to use all of the holistic methods that we are all told to practice, you know, meditation and yoga and forest bathing and good diet and all that stuff, and medication. And I was still really, really struggling. And a friend suggested that her son had used microdosing psilocybin for his post-concussion anxiety, another thing I'd never really heard about. So I felt like I was at the end of my rope. I thought, I'll give it a shot. And then being a journalist and a writer, I documented the results over a period of about 3 months. And then I thought, oh, this is kind of interesting.
Kind of interesting. It's absolutely fascinating. It's a must read at Chatelaine. Go online. You can read the essay. You saw the headline there. And part of that headline, and the reason why we showed your book off the top, is because you did lose your son Holden to an overdose. So that complicates using psilocybin, a yet to be regulated illegal drug.
Absolutely.
Right?
I have a lot of fear around illicit and unregulated drugs. I have, understandably, some PTSD around it and fear. I have another child and the poisonous supply of various different kinds of drugs that are so prevalent now. But I felt like I was kind of at a last resort position. And I also learned through the process of doing this I guess I placed myself in the middle of a social experiment, that psilocybin isn't really a drug, it's a medicine. And so there's a difference. You know, I think it has a bad rap, and I think it is, providing the source is clean, you know, it can be an extraordinarily helpful medicine for all kinds of mental health disorders.
And you bought your magic mushrooms, your microdose capsules or whatever, from a mushroom dispensary owned by Dana Larson,
Yep.
which was recently closed and had products seized, and then he got his license back. So when he's selling it, because it's unlicensed and you're not sure where he's getting it from or what's even in it, is there a concern for you around that? 100 milligrams? Is it 100 milligrams? I mean, how do we know?
Right, good question. I'm not concerned about that, because being there and seeing the operation, it looks like they are very careful, and they test their products for fentanyl, which is obviously something I'm concerned about. And I just tried it and it worked. So whether or not that was placebo effect or not, I honestly don't care.
Because it worked. And you,
Well,
like you said, you were at, and reading your essay, you were at the end of your rope.
It was pretty dark,
Yeah.
and it was something unfamiliar to me. And I think being inside a mental illness that you're surprised by is frightening. If it's something that you're accustomed to, perhaps you have some experience with it and ways to work within it. That's one thing. But I was scared, and my husband noticed the difference too. You know, often the people you're living with see you better than you see yourself, and he was like, you know, I think you're in a place where you need to sort of try some stuff here. So I agree. There's a lot of unregulated places to get drugs, and I would just be very, very careful with your source. I tried to buy them online from some kind of apothecary, and they never showed up.
Oh, great.
I tried.
So, you know, a lot of people's experience with magic mushrooms was from when we were younger.
Right.
And it was more just like a hallucinogenic experience. Did you ever feel high? And how long did it take for it to actually work and relieve the anxiety?
Yeah, once I felt a bit high. I had taken a bit too much, but the nature of the use is you sort of gradually taper yourself up. I went up 25 milligrams at a time, and when I got to 125, I was like, the colors were extra bright that day, kind of thing. I didn't feel it was dangerous, but I thought, okay, I'll roll it back. So it really is sort of something that you can determine yourself, because there are no large case studies right now.
And speak to that, because you used an app, which I think there's so much in the essay. You have to read the full essay. We won't be able to cover all of it, and everybody should read it. But the way you methodically entered, you tiptoed toward it. You didn't like, okay, I'm doing it, and not telling people right now to do it. Everybody's different.
Sure, everybody's different. And you know, my husband is much bigger than me, but he tried it too, and the amount that I take is too much for him.
Interesting,
So it's definitely a personal thing. But yes, Microdose.me is it's an app, but it also is a huge research study being conducted by UBC Okanagan, and the doctor there is Zach Walsh, and I spoke with him, and I quote him in the article that they are trying to measure all kinds of different aspects of life: physical, mental, sexual health, sleep, responses to nature. It's very, very comprehensive. I did 37 different surveys.
Wow.
And he is reluctant to say anything concrete until they have a large body of evidence. They have over 9,000 people live microdosing and tracking their reactions.
So back to the how long does it take? Because when people are in a mental health crisis, or just feeling blue, or just I can't get out of bed, they want relief like now.
Yes, and so did I. And it's very gradual. For me, I would say probably after 2 months, I started to feel some significant changes. After 3 months, I felt like a new person. Yeah.
Wow.
And then I took a break. I'm taking them again now.
So when you take it, what does that look like?
Just 2 little tablets a week. That's it.
Spaced out?
Wednesday, Sunday.
Wednesday. And you work on a
I
Wednesday.
work, I drive. There's absolutely no hallucinogenic effects, none whatsoever. It works with our body's sort of serotonin system in a way that just helps to elevate mood and calm. And I mean, I think the effects are different for everybody, but for me, it was pretty noticeable after, I'm going to say 2 months.
I know that Dana Larson is really trying to move the sticks forward and legitimize magic mushroom psilocybin for use in a whole bunch of different medical ways. What's your thought process on his sort of effort to get government to go, hey, you know what, let people are using it, let's regulate, let's do some oversight and move it forward and make it more available?
Another of the scientists I spoke to in this study, Dr. Leah Mayo, she's working at the University of Calgary, and she also was sort of part of the governance board when cannabis was legalized, and she doesn't want us to go the same way with psilocybin, because it becomes, once something becomes for profit, then the motivations change. And she wants the government, and I more than Dana Larson, I trust her to say we need to wait until we have large, concrete, replicable studies that show this is helpful in what dosages, for what size of people, for what ailments, and then move forward with legalization. I think we should wait.
That's so interesting, Tara, and I love the fact that you're talking about scientists versus activists, because there is a huge gap between the two.
Yes.
And when you said off the top that this is not a drug, this is medicine, that is
It was made a
poignant.
controlled substance along with all kinds of heavier drugs in the sort of prohibition era. And I feel like it needs to be in a different category. Also, you know, I'd like to make the distinction. There's a big difference between doing research and reading research. You know, people that are doing the research have very, very high levels of standards, and they're making sure that it's not just someone's opinion. They're making sure that it's not placebo effect, that these medicines actually do work.
Last question. Would this have helped your son Holden?
I don't know. I mean, you have to be receptive. You have to be willing to go slowly and see if there are effects. I wish I could answer that question, but I think for people, one of the areas of research is in opioid use disorder, and they're finding that it's very, very helpful in small samples.
Yeah, I've heard
Wouldn't that be?
Wouldn't that be great?
Oh, super interesting. Thank you so much. I know
You're
a lot of
welcome.
people are really starting to go, I'm going to look into this. So this is a really great conversation.
Obviously talk to your doctor
Yeah.
and make sure you have no contraindications, but for me it was really helpful.
I'm super proud of you for using your voice the way you are. That's a very personal story to share.
Thank you.
Yeah, good
The
for
more
you.
we can talk about mental health, the easier it'll be for everybody.
And also, maybe some people sitting back going, I am menopausal and I didn't realize that this anxiety I'm feeling is normal.
Yeah.
It
Wow.
sucks, but it's normal.
Right? And there's relief maybe. Talk to your doctor.
Yeah.
Talk to your doctor. Thanks, Tara.
Thank you very much.
Thank you both very much.
All right, coming up next, a Photoshop flap involving the Royals. Kate Middleton, where is she? What's going on? Do you care? Why should we care? Oh my gosh, it's a rabbit hole, and we'll go there next.
We're going down it. Oh my goodness. All right, well, let's do our viewing party first here, brought to you by the BCRFA. Marty, Cindy, Hermes, Suki, and New West. Hi, guys.
Massimo in Vancouver, thanks for sending in a photo.
And Paulette is in Victoria. Hi, Paulette.
And we also have Roxanne in North Vancouver sending in a photo.
Stay tuned. One of you may be our winner of a $100 gift card to the CHEK. If you want to get in on it for next week, send us your pictures to viewingparty@chekmedia.ca.